Hello, welcome back to our playthrough of Escape Velocity Nova. We are doing the Polaris storyline. So when we last left off, we had finished up here on Mu'arharo, and we were instructed to go up to the north of Polaris space to help out their scientist caste, the Per-Acrsc, which I can't say without thinking of paella. But hey, that is neither here nor there. We will still be landing and trying to pick up as many maps as we can, so we can hopefully flesh out Polaris space as fast as possible. Ooh, I wonder if I can land on this. Let's see, because some uninhabitable planets you can land on. Not that there's any indication that's the case, but that is not one of them. There are a couple of tiny space stations in Polaris space, which I don't know why they exist, but they do. You never interact with them in any storyline, and you never have to land on them. But they are there all the same. Now, there are two possible missions we can get when we go up to the Per-Acrsc station, and this will determine whether or not we're in the high technology route or the low technology route, as there is a branching path in the Polaris campaign. Unlike the Rebellion campaign, where the branching path actually leads to different endings, this one does eventually recombine, but I would like to show off the high technology path. You are met by a youthful-looking man dressed all in blue, which you notice seems to be the norm for most of the people on this planet. Allow me to introduce myself, he begins formally. I am Pagena. I will be your contact with the Per-Acrsc until you have learned our language. You nod, realizing that it makes more sense for you to learn the Polaris tongue than it does for all the Polaris to learn yours. Take some time to freshen up, he tells you politely, and meet me in the bar in 2 hours, and I shall give you the outline of your first mission with us. He bows before turning away and leaving you standing alone. You shake your head and go to see about getting your ship serviced. Alright, and as with all of the home planets for the various castes, I will read the blurb for Per-Acrsc. The word Per-Acrsc translates roughly as he who climbs the tree of knowledge, only occasionally falling. A surprisingly apt metaphor for scientific advancement in human history. Many notable scientific experiments have had horrifying effects on human civilization. The Per-Acrsc have had only one fall from the tree of knowledge, and that is Per-Acrsc. Some of the effects of their early experiments left this planet a polluted nightmare of a world. It is precisely for this reason that the Per-Acrsc have claimed this world as their homeworld. They wish to remind themselves that they are no better than any other group of scientists from anywhere else in the galaxy, or from any other period of human history, for they too have a black mark. While a great deal of technological research goes on here, most research on this planet is dedicated to repairing the damage that they have done. So, there you go. I don't think it looks too polluted, but then it is hard to tell. So if we go to the bar now, we can see which of the two missions we'll be doing. So this is, in fact, the one that we want. I believe. Yep. So, as you sit sipping your drink, you see the slim, somehow bookish figure and brown hair of Pagena enter the bar. You have to wave to attract his attention before he makes his way over to you. You're all freshened up? He asks in his polite manner, and you nod. Good. Well then, to explain your mission, many Per-Acrsc have become curious of reports from the Nilkamoria, which is the warrior caste. They have the prefix Nil. Over the last few years, that the Wraith, a hostile race occupying the space to the northwest of our own, have begun to wink in and out of physical existence, leaving only a strange energy signature that can be still followed on radar. We need someone to carry some scientific instruments deep into Wraith-held space to try to observe this phenomenon more closely. That's where you come in. He nods in your direction. Are you prepared to help us out? Of course we are. Excellent, he exclaims with a smile in his first break of decorum. He continues more seriously. At the furthest limits of our exploration to the northwest into Wraith space, we have located a gas giant, which we believe they use as some sort of home base, although we have no idea why. It is one of the busiest systems in the region, and will allow us to gather highly accurate data by allowing us to observe numerous Wraith. You will have to give the equipment we will load on board your ship a few minutes to take all the necessary readings, Pagena informs you seriously, after which you can return here and we will ensure that you are financially recompensed for your troubles. Also, he tells you formally, we have come to an arrangement with the Nilkamoria so that you can purchase some of our ships, which have a much longer range than your Federation technology vessel, which will be more than a little handy on this mission. I suggest that you get one. Finally, he warns quietly, the Wraith have a history of attacking ships without provocation, so keep your wits about you. This is actually one of the ships we are allowed to buy. It is the Polaris Striker. I think we will probably do that. I know we have this nice, sleek Federation ship with our close quarters build, but hey, why do the Polaris storyline if you're not going to buy a Polaris ship? So I think the best place to do that is probably Kalari, which is the capital world of Polaris space. It is the center point of Polaris space as well, because it follows this radial pattern. And it has a shipyard, so that's probably the best place to go and get our Striker. We can't access any of the really cool ships yet, so we're going to have to content ourselves with this one. I believe it is this system. Indeed it is. And you can see that it actually has a ruined hypergate in this system, because Polaris space had hypergates before they were ruined during the Colonial Council Velos War. There's also this little gas giant over here, which I don't know if you can land on. Nope. Can't land on an Ario. Shame. Actually, it's a pronounceable name. So here's Kalari. I pronounce it the same way that Jack Fullstam does in the Bounty Hunter storyline, because I think it makes the most sense. Oddly enough, it's only offering us the Cambrian, which is the thing that you can always get in Polaris space, regardless of whether or not you're doing the storyline. So maybe we have to go down to Mahari Aro and check it out there. Interestingly enough, we can buy Wraitheye and a Wraitheye cannon, but our ship will come with that, so there's no point in buying one now. Hey, there's a specially named Striker here, or a sprite rather. It's the Weave of Life. Greeting, Weave of Life. Let's say greetings and gels. Well, regardless, let's head down to the Muhari system. And actually, this might have it. This is a military system because it has the prefix nil. Nil Peestra. And they might have the Striker for us, seeing as they are a military planet. Or I believe it's a space station, actually. But regardless, having the Striker will make this much easier, because they have a much longer range than our current ship. And dealing with Wraith space, which has no places to refuel, a range is paramount to our success. Oh, we can actually get a dragon? I didn't know we got access to the dragon this early. Yeah, we're getting a dragon. Alright, I'll read the blurb. Dragon is a strange ship by Polaris standards, but a much more conventional weapon than their other creations. The Dragon main biological component is the self-repairing skin that also acts as an etheric wave hyperdrive. Apart from that, most of the ship is conventional, if somewhat high-tech. It mounts twin Wraitheye cannon as its standard weapon, and has excellent speed and agility. It is the only Polaris vessel sold to outsiders, and then to only trusted friends of the Polaris, which is their way of saying the Rebellion gets their hands on this. However, the Rebellion does not sell that to outsiders, and also they got it by stealing it from the Polaris, and the Polaris then say, oh well, fine. So I think that might be a little bit of revisionist history on the part of the Polaris, saying, yeah, we meant to give that to the Rebellion. But as this beautiful vignette here, this is the emblem of the Polaris. It is, of course, the North Star. And it has the Wraitheye cannon plus 20 ammo. I could have sworn it said a dual Wraitheye cannon, but this just has the one. And a turreted bioray laser. This is amazing. You'll see why. It mounts twin Wraitheye cannon. No, it doesn't. Alright, and we will call it... let's call it the Purple Dragon. There we go. And you can see this beautiful side plate that the Polaris have. As someone who loves the color purple, this is just about ideal. And I suppose this is like the, was it, bio skin that it has that supposedly is self-repairing. 20 Wraitheye is really not enough to do anything, so we're going to have to go ahead and buy up to the max, because we have the money and we might as well stock up to 600 Wraitheye. Still probably not enough to like conquer a planet if you were to do that. We're also going to buy a second Wraitheye cannon. This is going to just increase the firing rate of it. And of course we want all of our standard stuff, grav sensors, IF decoder, and auto recharger, because those are just quality of life goodness. So here it is. Unfortunately, this is at 2x speed. It is a little bit slower than our previous ship, but it is just a beautiful ship. And if we actually check out Federation space, I think we might be well liked enough to go put Sigma upgrades on it. We are. So why don't we go and do that real quick, so you can see it in all its glory. It's kind of amusing that the Sigma upgrades work on a Polaris ship. You would think that the engineers have no idea how to retrofit this thing, but it will definitely help in terms of getting us into hyperspace faster and improving that turn rate, because I hate slow turn rates. But thankfully, we're in the high-tech Polaris route, and so we will get really, really nice Polaris technology, which will make some of this a little bit easier. One of which requires you, or allows you not to do the required, like, half turn that you do entering hyperspace. Instead, it just lets you immediately enter hyperspace, and that is a dream come true. Alright, so let's model this bio-ray laser. Boom! You don't even have to aim! Alright, and let's repeat with this pirate starbridge. Problem is, it does not have unlimited range. The range is long, but not unlimited. Goodbye. Who's attacking us? Another marauder. Wow, Canio's full of marauders today. That's fine. Because we are viciously effective, no matter what. Thankfully, the Federation doesn't seem to mind us being here that much, which is a little bit out of character. But regardless, let's zip into this hypergate and make our way back up to 2x speed, make our way over to Sol. Preferably before getting scanned. I don't think they mind us having Polaris technology, but we're just going to play it safe. And after all, we wouldn't want to get scanned because we are being hunted by Bureau snatch squads. Even if that's not reflected in the game. It's true. Alright. No Sigma upgrades. I wonder if that's a result of us having a Polaris ship. In which case, that answers that question. But I would have... Oh, okay, no. They just... Occasionally, there are just none available. Because it's a chance-based thing. But, you know, that's certainly rare that just none are there. We do also want the mount refitting, so we can fit extra guns and turrets on it. We can't get the mass expansion, we're not quite that large of a ship. But, okay, cool. Cool. So already, we have better turn rate, better maneuverability, we have a little bit more energy, which is absurd, because we already had a ton of energy to begin with. Let's go get our vectored thrust. If you play this game enough, you kind of memorize where everything is in terms of upgrades. So the vectored thrust is most commonly available down from Tautha, and plus we get to go and say hello to Eamon. Although Eamon doesn't actually have any new stuff for us. Hello, Eamon. What is new? Alright, so there's the vectored thrust. I almost think it's like guaranteed to be here. Cannot think of any time in recent memory that I've come here and the vectored thrust was not available. And if we can go to the bar, but you can see there's really nothing new for us. Oh yeah, much more maneuverable. Next up is the horizontal booster. The best place to get that is in Rebel 2, and thankfully we can get there via the hypergates. This Auroran has taken offense to us, but we're just going to ignore them. So what's worth noting, we are a Knight of the Red Branch, meaning that we have done the... Who's attacking us? Roughnecks. That's weird. We have done the Wild Geese storyline prior to getting into the Polaris storyline, so that does kind of weirdly affect your reputation. So if you go ahead and do this without doing that, you might find that you are not very well liked in the Federation. I believe some of the Polaris missions do just decrease your standing in the Federation. Oh, also get the port and polish. Nice. Horizontal booster. So now we are well equipped and good to go. I'm tempted to keep our 25 tons there open, so we have some options insofar as what we want to get later on with the Polaris technology. We don't want to fill up on substandard Federation technology when we have access to better things. That being said, I'm just landing and taking off again, seeing if we can get a fission reactor. There it is. We're going to grab one of those, just because we will have to be going up into the galactic north, and there is, as I said, no place to refuel. So now we're ready to go. And I think it's actually the best plan here is to go up from this direction. And because we have that reactor, and because we can make so many jumps with this thing, here I'll actually open up the E menu. We can make nine more jumps, so we can make a maximum of 11 jumps. Just crazy. The Polaris really do have the best technology in the game, and that is by design. Ooh, a Hyperoid. If we see another one of those, I will stop and look at it for you guys. But that's really by design. They, by which I mean the developers, were asked at one point about, you know, what was your thoughts behind the balance of the various factions? And their response was kind of like, yeah, they're not supposed to be balanced. So it really is the case that the Polaris are just the best in terms of tech. This is a Hyperoid. If I remember correctly, this is kind of the galactic equivalent of just a cow grazing in a field. They just hang around, they absorb, you know, space energies. They have this really cool kind of idle animation where they're I don't know, back appendages rotate around them. I think it's kind of neat. We are being swarmed by Wraith here. These are, I can get a bead on one of them and then hail them. There we go. Hello. Those are also another form of space-based life, and those are the ones we were sent here to study by the Payet. How do you think you're supposed to pronounce the Polaris cast names? Please let me know in the comments down below, because I have no idea. Here's ATMOS, which is actually formally considered to be a Wraith system. So if we look in the map, we can go to the government, and it says it is a Wraith system, which I think is kind of neat. We cannot land on ATMOS. See, if we try, it says the environment is too hostile. There is actually a second Wraith system around here, which is down to the south. Yeah, let's go take a look at that. We have plenty of fuel, and it won't take too long. Because I can't think of any situation where you have to go to it, but it is there, which I think is interesting. One thing that's worth mentioning is that there is a fairly notable mod for this game, or a plugin, as is the EV Nova parlance, that puts in an entire storyline for the Wraith. It is called the World of the Wraith, and I think it's pretty neat. So here it is. It's the Hell of Forius system. I'm sure that's a reference to something, although I don't know what it would possibly be. So it's just another gas giant. If we go to the map, it is also considered to have the government Wraith, and they have these kind of like light green tint around their systems, which, you know, I think is kind of nice. I just love the fact that these are here. It is like a neat little thing that you could possibly find if you were going around checking out the less inhabited regions of space. And really it is just the north that is uninhabited. Albeit this part of the north is even better inhabited than this part. This part just has like nothing in it. I mean, there are a few, I think, cheeky references up here to systems that are named silly things, but there's nothing of note up there. You never have to go up there for anything. Alright, so let's get back to the scientists and let them know what the results of our scans were. This will take a couple minutes because we're going to have to wait for us to recharge, but that's where that fission reactor comes in handy. You may be familiar with the solar panel upgrade, which slowly recharges your energy. The fission reactor is just essentially a bunch of solar panels strapped together, at least in function. You can also get a thorium reactor, which is even more effective than the fission reactor. The trade-offs to these is both expense. I think the fission reactor is, what was it, like 30,000, but then the thorium reactor I think is 1 million. But either way, it's just to make sure that you don't have to wait around for your ship to recharge too much. Thankfully, we are pretty close to the edge of Polaris space, so this won't take too long. But I think it's kind of interesting. They do mention that the Wraith attack any Polaris ships on sight, but for whatever reason, we are not getting attacked. I wonder what that could mean. And we have our scanner. Really, all you need to do is enter the ATMOS system. He does say that you have to wait for a couple minutes. As you saw, that really isn't the case. You can just kind of hang out do a quick sweep through, and they say, you know, that's fine, come back. Unfortunately, despite being in the Polaris storyline, when we hail these guys, they do not seem too keen on giving us assistance. They will try, however, at 1x speed so you can watch, they will try to fight the Wraith, and they will lose in short order. You think the Polaris are effective, the Wraith are brutally effective. I wonder if we can board this and take it over. No, Wraith, why? Well, let's put it this way, our chances weren't good anyway, seeing as we have no marine platoons. Alright, oh, shoot, I have taken a wrong turn, haven't I? That's okay, we can check out this Hyperoid. Now, if you attack the Hyperoids, they actually have a weapon that they can attack you back with. And I could show that off, but I prefer to show that off after I've landed once, because they can get you. And if we were to be blown up here, we would be set all the way back to Rebel 2. So why don't we save that for a little bit later. Oh, here we have another fight between the Polaris and the Wraith. Ooh. This one actually has some escorts, they might win. But there's a Wraith reinforcement fleet incoming. Still, they do not deign to answer our hails, and they are very smartly jumping away. What I do think is interesting is that sometimes the AI ships have to jump away, but they jump in directions that don't actually have hyperspace paths. So we went like kind of southeast. There is no southeast path. I don't know where he's going there. But hey, I guess it was not a priority to program that. So here's an example of what I was talking about earlier, where it's a Polaris station. but you can't do anything with it. It's one of these tiny stations. There are 2 models for these. You never interact with them in any way, and you never do anything with them. So you can't land on them or anything. You can't use them to refuel, much to my chagrin in this moment. However, they're there, and they saw fit to give them 2 unique models, so I have to imagine that at some point there was a plan for them. Or maybe they're purely an atmospheric design set to set the mood. I can't say for sure. There are so many little questions I would love to ask the developers of this game. Only I could. Although some of them do hang out on the EV Nova subreddit, which I highly recommend you go and check out if you want to learn more about this game. And it's pretty cool getting the little tidbits and insights into like what the production was like, what the intent behind certain things were. And it's great that this game came out in 2002, that 18 years later, people still love it, and the developers are still interested in being connected to it and talking to the community. Alright, so we are finally back into Polaris space. Now it's just a quick jaunt back to the scientists, and we can get the next mission in this chain. So, let's see what they have to say. Upon landing, you are greeted by several blue-robed Polaris scientists who begin poring over the sample you took. Well done, Pagena congratulates you. Very few have ventured into Wraith space and survived. They are possibly the most aggressive life form we've ever heard of. You raise your eyebrows and tell them that you had absolutely no trouble with them at all, and that they basically left you alone. What? He exclaims, drawing the stares of several of his colleagues. Are you sure? You tell him to check your sensor logs if he has any doubts, which he does, looking very surprised. This is most unusual, he tells you, looking slightly shocked. We will have to explore this phenomena further. Meet me in the bar in a few hours, and I will have something more for you. Alright, so apparently this is completely unheard of. So let's see what he has to say about it. You are sipping your second drink when you see the slim figure of Pagena enter the bar. Your sensor logs have caused quite a stir, he informs you after making his way over and sitting down. Always before, the Wraith attacked every ship that they saw, and the only difference that we can see as being definitive is that you are not a Polaris pilot, because after all, we are even flying a Polaris ship. Anyway, he sighs, returning to relative normalcy after his slightly excited outburst. We have already discovered a way of reproducing this cloaking effect of the Wraith, and we believe that it would be of enormous use for both the Nilkamoria and the Muhari. So what they don't tell you immediately is the Muhari also act as spies, so cloaking would be great for them. I have all the data required to reproduce the effect, Pagena tells you in his quiet way, but I still require transportation to pass this information on to those who can turn a laboratory experiment into a practical application. Can you help me? Of course, Pagena. Thank you, he accepts gratefully. This may well prove to be one of the biggest advances in technology in decades in terms of how it could affect the political landscape of all known space. If the information falls into the wrong hands somehow, and these people have the scientific know-how to understand the information I now have, it could mean serious changes to the balance of power throughout the galaxy. Still, he shrugs, it cannot hurt if we develop the technology to use it to defend our borders against incursions by outside influences. And to do that, I need to get to Per-Acrsc in the Per-Acrsc system. This is a little bit weird. They use Q's without the corresponding U's, so it could be Ver-Acrsc or Ver-Oki, depending if you want to treat that as, a Q sound or a C sound. All the brightest scientists and engineers dream of being asked to serve there. Nearly all of the greatest advances in ship design and technology over the last few centuries have come out of there. Hopefully, he concludes in his bookish manner, this will prove to be another successful experimentation. Okay, so this system is where we will be doing the bulk of the missions for the high-tech kind of side path. And the cloaking device is just the start of that. There are other things to be had. And conveniently, it's right next to Muhari. I believe this is another caste that their prefix is Ver, because you also see there's Ver-Avo here, and Ver-Acrsc. I believe that they are the engineers. So we have the scientists, which have their P prefix. We have the casteless, have the Mu prefix. The warriors, who have their Nil prefix. And now, the engineers, who have their Ver prefix. They're also color-coded. I believe that the scientists we know are blue. The Muhari we know are black. The leader wears brown. The warriors wear gray. The engineers, I think, wear... I want to say red, because I think the medics wear green. Alright, so we actually want to land on this station over here, I believe. Correct. Upon landing, you are greeted by a small crowd of people, most of whom wear the green, flowing robes that you have learned belong to the engineer/healer caste, called the Per-Acrsc. But there are a sprinkling of blue robes belonging to the scientists like Pagena, and even one utilitarian black jumpsuit that belongs to the members of the Mohari. So how does it work? Asked one of the Per-Acrsc in an excited tone. The Wraith have learned to fold space around them, so that they are physically impervious to harm, replies Pagena quietly. So it is as though they cloak themselves in space-time, asks one of the scientists. Pagena nods before returning to you. We have a fair amount of work ahead of us to take this knowledge out of the laboratory and into the real world, he tells you quietly. But if you keep checking back here, we will probably have need of your services before too long. With that, he disappears into the station, rapidly talking to his colleagues. Alright, and we will go ahead and go read the blurb both here on the station and on the planet, because I believe that planet is probably the homeworld of the Per-Acrsc. But here we have Per-Acrsc. Per-Acrsc is the most prestigious research facility run by the Per-Acrsc anywhere in Polaris space. Over half of the advances in medicine, ship growth, and repair and design in the 2 centuries since the station was built have come from here. Only the best and brightest of the Per-Acrsc are invited to work here. Other than Per-Acrsc members, the station also houses a handful of Pa'ayat, the scientist caste, and 1 or 2 Mohari, the casteless caste. And if we go to the bar, we can also check out what that says there. The engineers and scientists who are in the bar give you a quick glance when you walk in, and then continue their discussion about some new technique of growing some ship parts to give them more strength. Only the 2 black-cloaked Mohari pay any attention to you whatsoever. It was interesting. Sometimes the Mohari are noted as having black cloaks, and sometimes they're noted as wearing jumpsuits. So I believe this planet is probably their home world. Let's find out. This is apparently the main college, but I will keep looking for the homeworld and let you know when I find it, and we will be sure to read out the appropriate blurb. No reason in buying a map here, seeing as we are in a terminus system. Then we have another station here. Nope, also not the homeworld, but we can buy more ships, so we can take a look at the possible ships we would have available to us. So the Manta is their version of the Viper, the Striker is their version of, say, the Gunboat, the Dragon is kind of like a Starbridge, sort of, and then you have the Sprite and the Cambrian, which are sort of like the Pegasi and Leviathan, respectively. So we're just going to check back in at the bar in the other station. I believe there is a generic delay. We have to wait out for the next part to fire. Oh, apparently I'm mistaken. I could have sworn there was a generic delay. As soon as you step off your ship, you are met by Pagena and a woman in flowing green robes, who introduces herself as Verlana. Verlana has come up with a design, Pagena informs you in his quiet, somehow formal manner, that should allow us to duplicate the capabilities of the Wraith. The trouble is, he continues seriously, with something this sensitive, we need to ensure that we have absolute control over as much of the experiment as possible, so that we can ensure that the results are tainted by as little outside influence as possible. So, seeing as it was your ship that we took the original readings of the Wraith from, we were wondering if we could use your ship as an observation platform for the proceedings. Of course. Thank you, murmurs Pagena gratefully, at your acceptance of the mission. I'll let Verlana explain the nature of the experiment. We have built a ship designed specifically for being under cloak, she informs you after you turn your head slightly to face her. We have named it the Zephyr, and as we speak, it is currently undergoing space testing of its flight systems. When you are ready, she continues pleasantly, if you could take off from the station and try to observe it as it flies around the system cloaking and uncloaking. When you've observed it for a while, return to the station. We will be loading the very same holoscanner technology on board your ship, she finishes quietly, that you were carrying during your voyage into Wraith space. Anyway, we will be ready when you are. So the Zephyr is, some of you might recall from prior videos, the ship that Shade of Blue flies, except the normal Zephyr is not, of course, blue. Now, I know I just said that the Dragon is kind of the... Well, what's going on? I heard Wraith Eye being fired off. The Dragon... What are you doing? Oh, are you... Oh, he's blowing up asteroids. I was about to say, is he attacking me? But there's the Zephyr. But the Zephyr is kind of the equivalent of the Starbridge. I think the Dragon is a little bit heavier than Starbridge. And there aren't exactly one-to-one analogies, but there you go. As soon as you land, your ship is overrun by the green-robed engineers and their blue-robed colleagues, who pay you and your ship scant regard. In irritation, you throw them all off your ship, telling them that the ship comes first, and that their data can wait a few more minutes. Many of them look very ashamed as you pointedly upbraid them about their poor manners. Out of the corner of your eye, you think you catch a gray-cloaked warrior smile slightly, but when you turn in her direction, her face is without expression. Please accept my sincerest apology, says Pagena, stepping forward. We meant no disrespect, our only excuse in an eagerness to view the data held in the holoscanner. We are sorry for any inconvenience we caused. You nod and tell them that when you have finished your post-flight routine, you will allow them full access to your ship, but not before. You take your time as you shut your ship's computer down, as you want the Per-Acrsc or the Per-Acrsc waiting outside to know just how much they offended you. As soon as you finish, you step out of your beloved purple dragon, and indicate with a wave of your hand that they may begin. Thank you for doing this, Captain Jim, says Pagena contritely, and thank you for pointing out our poor manners and etiquette. We are all truly sorry for the irritation we caused, and are grateful that you brought it to our attention, so we may learn to conduct ourselves better. I have made sure that your account has been suitably recompensed, he continues quietly, and I will make sure that we do not harm your ship in any way. Even from our preliminary scans, we have seen that the Zephyr ship itself is capable, even if the cloak could do with a little more work. So we have made it available to you. Drop back here in 2 or 3 months. Because once we have analyzed the data, we'll be needing someone to gather more data for us. In the meantime, keep your eye out in the mission BBS, as I've heard that Miranda may have something for you before too long. So that is the first step in this kind of side mission, and true to their word, if we go up to somewhere with the shipyard, you can now buy the Zephyr, and you can buy the cloaking organ. This is perhaps one of the most overpowered items in the game, because as you saw, it makes you impervious to damage. But I'll read the blurb here. The Per-Acrsc, working with the Per-Acrsc on data recovered from encounters with the Wraith, have managed to duplicate their cloaking capabilities. There is still an energy signature that can be easily read over most sensor systems, but any ship with a cloaking organ is invisible to the naked eye, and is extremely difficult to target. So naturally we're going to buy one, just so I can show it off if nothing else. But you press the U key to activate it, as a nice little sound effect, and we are cloaked. Now, this is useful for if you're doing planetary conquests, as it gives you a little bit of breathing room for your, say, energy to recharge, and that way you can fire off some of the beam weapons requiring it. But the problem with this one is, if you take a look over on the right, when we cloak, it actually eats up our shields. Well, that is neither here nor there, as I don't think we'll be using it much, but I am going to call it an episode here, so thank you very much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the second episode in the Polaris storyline. If you'd like to watch some of the other storylines, go check out the playlists up on the channel, and we also have some videos for some of the side missions that I think are quite good. If there's something you liked or something you want to let me know, please let me know down in the comments below. And until next time, no matter what you do, I hope you have a good one.